Hello there, ladies and gents, it's Dr. Phil here, and before we start anything, I'm going to give you a warning. There's a beautiful Rhodesian Ridgeback cross dog out here who hates the sound of a vacuum cleaner, and when the sound of that vacuum cleaner is going to stop, she's going to want to come in, and you will hear sometime through this presentation the cry of a distressed dog. Not really that big a cry, but she just wants the door open for her. So just warning you, that's going to happen. What I'm doing here at the moment is I'm still going through all of these opals. I'm sorting them into little baggies. Over here is cut stones that really should be finished off. Over here is really, really good stuff, good material, which can just 2 or 3 cuts and it becomes a good stone. You can see some of these are pretty good in here. Don't know what that's doing there. Anywho, over here is bag of cheap rough that should go to beginners. Saw a good comment in the comment section that says you should actually be going for chunks of potch like this. This isn't potch, this has got colour in it. I'll put that over there. You should get chunks of potch are in this container here. And you should, just practice cutting nice shapes out of that potch. And that is exactly what you should be doing. I don't know anyone who's actually done that, because they're like, let's get straight into the colour, let's make the pretty stones. And therefore ruins a whole stack of stones. So therefore we've got another thing, we've got mistakes. And this is a history of my mistakes, because I've cut stones and then thrown stones that didn't work, or corners of stones into this pile here. So essentially this is a history of what I've done wrong, which is good. This is not a particular stone in which I've done wrong. I'm just deciding on what to do with this one. I think that one goes into this pile. But here's a nice piece of potch, hopefully. Yeah, nice piece of potch. So maybe what you should be learning to do as if you're just freshly coming in there, or there is a tiny piece of colour just in there, what you should be learning to do is just know to bring these corners in and get everything nice and symmetrical, and then have a nice little cab out of that. Cab is short for cabochon. There is some colour in there, so that's going into the pile. You're not going to be able to ever extract anything from that, sorry. But I have rules here. That's a nice one too. I should stop grading this and talk to you about what I want to talk about. So what I've got here is I've got a list of mistakes essentially here. Over here, when I was looking through all of my opals, I saw that there were some opals here which have colour in them that are looking quite nice, but nonetheless have got a variety of mistakes that you can see, literally see, in the cutting of the opal. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to look through these stones, and we'll see what I've done wrong with these stones, and see if there's anything that we could have done to fix them. So let's get into it. Let's have a look here. We're going to move over to this set of stones here first. So what do you reckon's happened wrong with these stones? So I've got this one here. Seems to be just a tiniest fragment of colour left in here, but none really on the face, and the stone is quite big. So what I think's happened is that I've gotten this stone, it's got a nice load of colour in there, and I've just tried desperately to bring out the colour that wasn't there, and I've just sat there and I've just hacked into it and hacked into it and hacked into it until all the colour was gone. So basically I've overcut it. What I reckon the good option to do in a situation like this is, instead of overcutting your stone, have a look at where the colour is and examine it really carefully. Have a look from the side, have a look from every single angle, and then you've got to make your best guess as to where the colour is in this stone. Don't just hope, guess. Make an educated guess. And what you'll find is, if there is no colour really going any deeper on this side, for example, then you just bring the stone in. You're much better off having a tiny little stone which has got nice colour in it than to just hope and just keep grinding the face away. What will happen is that eventually, once you've ground the face away, you'll just be left with potch, which goes into the potch pile. So that's that one. Let's have a look at this one here. I think this is a similar situation. It's a boulder opal. I was hoping against hope, and you can see there's a little bit more wisdom employed here. Hoping against hope that this stone would actually come good, never did. And then I thought, you know what, I'm going to quit while I'm ahead. And quite frankly, what I will do with this stone here, I'll put it in there actually, but what I probably would do with this stone here nowadays is just bring the corners in, make it all nice and symmetrical, and it looks good as a boulder opal just like that, I reckon. Let's give it a bit of polish and away we go. Nice little stone. Let's see, what else have we got here? We've got this one here. You can see that it was a little bit of a hint of colour in there, but it really wasn't ever going to go anywhere. So, yep, I've done the right thing. Quit whilst I was ahead there. Like, I've made a mistake by trying to get some colour out of it in the first place, but quit while you're ahead. This one here. Yep, same deal. Overcut it. This one here. Overcut until it's gone clear. This one. Now, I think this is a good segue into the next section. I've overcut it, but I've also overcut it in a very specific way. I saw a piece of colour and I said, right, I'm going to go and cut this colour. But realistically, what I should have done is I should have turned this stone to the side and cut this way. So I've cut the wrong face. And what have we got here? But we've got a whole heap of stones to which that applies. Have a look at this guy here. There's the colour right there. So that's where the stone should be facing. This one can be fixed, but that's where the stone should be facing. So if we turn it to the side, you need to kind of cut along there, and you need to bring the face out so that the colour actually shows properly. So that can be fixed, but that one is a big epic mistake. You could probably have gotten an extra, 0.2 of a carat out of this guy if you'd have, if I'd have, just applied a little bit of common sense when I was cutting it. Let's have a look here. We've probably got exactly the same issues coming on here. No, that's just been overcut. Let's have a look. Yep, this one here. There's a mosquito. I've been cutting this face of the opal, hacking away, when realistically, and when the sun comes out, you'll actually see this. This is the face that I should have been dealing with. And the reason why I probably didn't deal with this face is because I can see all these pits and whatever else. I'm going to myself, but I'll get a smaller stone. Well, if you get a big stone that looks like this, it's just a piece of rubbish anyway. There's no point. You may as well cut for what there is there rather than what isn't there and you're hoping will be there. You're better off being a realist when you're cutting your stones. So that's interesting. This one here. Once again, I think that, let's have a look. Okay, ooh, there we go. Oh, cracked. So this one here, I should have examined the stone before I actually started cutting it, I reckon. And I would have avoided a few heartaches here. This one is just cracking. You can see that. And there are some things which exasperate this, and one of them is cutting without enough water or cutting at too fast a speed and overheating the stone. I've probably overheated this guy. It doesn't quite look like it's been overheated, but I think basically what I did was I cut into it without realizing how badly cracked it was. You just need to look and think before you cut. Basically, putting that back up there. Let's have a look at this guy. Yep, once again, look and think before you cut. There's a giant cut in there, a crack, and that's never going to, even though it's only a couple of mil to go, a fraction of a mil, it's never going to get out of there before the colour exhausts itself. So that was never a deal. Should have just cut along that crack and just accepted two smaller stones, which probably will end up being the same carat weight as whatever's left of this. Let's have a look here. Done that one. Oh, this one's classic. Have a look at this. So I've been cutting along this axis here. There's all this junk. I don't even know what I was doing, because there's nothing good about this side when there is something salvageable here. But if I went and started cutting this side now, I reckon it's too thin to start really cutting it properly. So this one's just an epic fail. Look at that. I think those people who know how to cut stones can look at this and they can, like I think they're face palming, shaking their heads, doing whatever else, because this is just like, should never have been attempted this way, basically. Look at that. How silly. How silly. Okay, what else have we got? This was an overly optimistic cut. There's not lots of nice colour sitting in here, and I've tried to, create a face out of it. I've abandoned it pretty quick, but you can see all that sand that's sitting in there, and the sand is always going to come to the surface. So there's two things that's wrong with this cut. The first one is that I'm not cutting with the layers, so I'm never going to get the sand out of it. And two, there's just too much sand. It was never going to get the sand out of that thing. It's just a nice, pretty specimen. It was only ever going to be a nice, pretty specimen. Let's have a look. This is an interesting one, because this stone, I've abandoned it too early. There might be a crack down here that might cause problems, but I'll be a bit of an optimist with this stone. But basically, there's a chunk of potch there which I reckon can be removed. If worse comes to worse, you just cut along that axis, and you've got yourself a nice stone there. So that one is just abandoning it too quickly. Very simple problem. What have we got here? Oh, I've already done this one, haven't we? Ah, yes. So these ones have just been thrown in the discard pile with very, very little thought. And I'm looking at these ones here. Now, I don't know what you're seeing on your end of things. There is a crack here. But basically, there's a lot of potential in this stone, which has gone unrealized. This stone can go places. And I just threw it in the discard pile relatively quickly. So I think that my failure here is failure to realize the potential of the stone. And I think all of these are like that. And that one isn't. That's just overcut. This one here, yeah, have a look at this. I've just chucked it in the discard pile. And if you have a look at this colour band, gee, colour band on the side here. There's even a slight amount of the colour band. So there's heaps of colour on this side that slowly grades out. So all you need to do really is just bring it in. Zing. And maybe a bit of a zink there. And just straighten this edge out. Just roll it in, I reckon. Roll it in, and then you've got yourself something that resembles a drop, and then you just decide whether you want to turn that into a cab or turn it into a drop, and you've got yourself a beautiful little stone. Why that one was just simply discarded, I have no idea. Let's have a look here. Ah, this one. Yep. So this one, nice little stone. This probably caters to my feelings more than anything else, but you can just see that there's a layer of sand just up here, and there's another drift of sand, I suppose what you call it, just on the right hand side of the stone. And you can definitely see when you turn it to the side that there's an angle to which this sand is going. So why was I cutting this way when everything was indicating that I should have been cutting just that way? That's just silliness, quite frankly. So I could have had a good stone, but I didn't, because I just didn't read the stone and didn't see where it was going. So I'll put all these stones into their relevant categories. I'm going to try and recut that one. But I thought you'd be interested to see the litany of errors that sometimes occurs from time to time. That's not bad. The litany of errors that occurs from time to time when you're cutting. And I think that in the comments section, you feel free to cut loose on me for my mistakes, because some of them were pretty dumb. But probably these were done a long time ago, so, it was a bit of a rookie at the time. But, to avoid that, first, get yourself up to speed with cutting. I know it's fun to cut through the pretty colourful stuff, but, you will be cutting through the pretty colourful stuff and removing good stones. Have a look at the mistakes, try and avoid the mistakes. But I think there's also another piece of advice: make mistakes, because I think the best teacher is your own regret sometimes. And whilst I do have a look at these stupid mistakes that I've made and I go, that was a bit daft, at the same time I had a go, and I think it's better to have a go than to not have a go. So get in there, make a few mistakes, and then you can look back on this video and go, yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. Yeah, I did that. The other thing is I'm not an expert. I still make mistakes. And there are people here who have, even as I've been cutting online, have said, why don't you do this? Why don't you quit while you're ahead? Or other pieces of advice, which are really good pieces of advice. So the other thing is that, especially now we've got this connected community, we can talk, and we can A, offer people the benefit of our wisdom, and B, we can accept the wisdom of others. So, life is good. Have a lovely day, guys. Dr. Phil out.